Hi, welcome back to Brooksy's Bass Corner and my Essential Bass Albums series, looking back at albums that in my view are essential listening for any bass player. It might be an album that sold millions worldwide and thrust the bassist onto megastardom, or it might be an album that didn't sell particularly well, but cut a niche for a particular bassist to propel the band onto greater things. Or it might just be a great album in terms of the bass performance. Either way, I think these albums deserve your attention, and perhaps by watching this video you might be intrigued to check out the album for yourself. And who knows, maybe it will excite you as much as it excited me when I first discovered the album. Sadly, due to copyright restrictions, I can't use audio examples from the album, but where suitable I will indicate particular songs and their timestamp that I'm referring to. If you enjoy the video, please hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell so that you receive notifications when I post new videos, and please give the video a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions regarding the album or the video, leave them below and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. On with this episode's album. It's Level 42's debut album, aptly titled Level 42. It wasn't until August 1981 and the eponymous debut album released by Level 42 that the fortunes of Mark King, Mike Lindup, Phil Gould and Boone Gould began to take off. Earlier single releases on Elite Records merely whetted the appetite of an audience keen to follow this UK version of a young Weather Report, as Mark King has described the band in their early days. This album announced the Brit funk purveyors from the Isle of Wight, well, 3 of them, to the UK music scene. The preceding single, Love Games, entered the UK Top 40 Singles chart in March of 1981, giving the band exposure across the country via Top of the Pops, which also led to a support tour with the Police, and from that point the ball was firmly rolling. The album would eventually reach number 20 in the UK album chart, remaining in the chart for 18 weeks, and would eventually become a classic of the Brit funk, jazz funk genres, and is a marker as to where the band were at that time prior to the hit machine of the mid-80s. Mark had already adopted the JD Supernatural as his bass of choice, forming a close partnership with John Diggins at JD Custom Guitars, and also building a solid relationship with the then new Trace Elliot Amplification Company. Light gauge strings were already in use, and although Mark used Yamaha E1010 analog delay units live, he used them sparingly on this album. Turn It On was the second single and would become a live favourite, being played in a different key and taking on a faster tempo and groove. This version is far more laid back and features a fat, woody bass tone, while Mark's bass part is uncluttered and fairly restrained. That would change of course over time, Mark by his own admission feeling the need to fill holes and gaps with his bass parts. Zoom to 3 minutes 24 for a prime example of Mark's slap technique. 43, a blistering instrumental, caught the ear of many bass players across the UK and Europe. Here was a new bass hero that players could aspire to emulate, Mark's slap and pop technique effectively prompting the sale of bass exotica, an amplification for more than a decade. The natural tone of the JD offered a thickness despite the light strings, and this track is a prime example of Mark's slid notes under pluck notes and root 10th double stops. Why Are You Leaving is an example of the band's soul tendencies without any guitar part from Boone at all, but does feature a tasteful sax solo from Dave Chambers. The band would call on additional musicians when required, using the likes of Leroy Williams on percussion and longtime fifth member Wally Badarou in the studio. Mark mixes up the fingerstyle verse bass line with a more punchy slap line in the chorus to emphasise the rhythmic push of Phil Gould's drumming, a fine rhythm section considering Mark's drumming abilities as well. Almost There is one of Mark's stamina bass lines, so approach with care. Starting with a bent harmonic at 8 seconds, Mark used this technique often and resulted in the development of the bend well on the Status King bass. It's clear to see why the bass playing fraternity were excited by this new exponent of the slap technique, but Mark's fingerstyle technique is equally impressive. Heathrow, with its punchy slap triplet line, took on a whole new persona live as the band let rip. Mark's bass playing going into overdrive. So the album version is something of a blueprint for the extended live version. Love Games really needs no introduction. Its bass line is a level 42 trademark, and the song has remained a staple of the live set for decades. Dune Tune features pedal notes alongside a melodic top line that bass players have emulated for almost 40 years, but with an obvious tip of the hat to Stanley Clarke. The strum sections from 3 minutes 55 are also very Stanley-esque, but we all borrow something from somewhere. Starchild became a club hit when released as the third single, and again features a mashup of Mark's playing techniques with a great slap section in the bridge from 1 minute 17 to 1 minute 34, for example. Later albums moved away from this style as hits were required, and the band developed, but Level 42 remains a gem in the band's back catalogue, and a classic for bassists to get their teeth into. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell so that you receive notifications when I post new videos, and please give the video a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you have any comments regarding the album or the video, leave them below and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. Look forward to seeing you here again on Brooksy's Bass Corner.